multiple offices. Hingi lang po ng konting ayuda, kailangan pa po ng diploma, kailangan pa po ng mga kung ano-ano pa, marriage contract. Sa proseso pa lang na yan, ubos na po ang oras, pamasahe at lakas ng mga Pilipinong higit nangangailangan ng tulong. Mr. President, my dear colleagues, our goal is simple: to bring government assistance closer to Filipino people without drowning them in bureaucracy. Ngayon na ang panahon para ipakita na kaya rin nating ipagtanggol ang nagtatanggol sa atin. Kaya po, sasabihin ko, maraming salamat, Sierra Madre.
Una sa pagpigil ng pag-aabuso sa ating kalikasan. Pero hindi po ganitong nangyari. Kasi po, may nababayaran sa baba para mabigyan ng ECC. Pag walang nagreklamo, everybody happy. Pag may nagprotesta naman, hindi rin agad pinapansin hanggat hindi nag-viral o ma-pick up ng media o sa social media. Anong klaseng sistema meron po tayo? The problem with our environment, Mr. President, is that damages are often irreversible.
In the end, we all want one thing, di ba? You know, pag nagdadasal po tayo, sabi, your kingdom come here on earth as it is in heaven. At yung kingdom ng Panginoon ay maayos. So the manifestation that I want to make is that I look forward to working with all of you sa budget. But sana ma-convince din natin yung executive department at saka yung House of Representatives, lahat ng ating kababayan, na we have to do things differently. If we have to ban all these kinds of development from Sierra Madre, let's just do it.
Ladies and gentlemen of this august chamber, ako po ay tumitindig ngayon upang manawagan para sa ganap na proteksyon ng buong kabundukan ng Sierra Madre. Hindi lamang po sa Isabela, sa Hilaga, kundi hanggang sa lalawigan ng Quezon sa Timog. Noong Sabado at Linggo lamang, nang tumama po ang Super Typhoon Uwan sa Luzon, muli nating nasaksihan ang katatagan ng Sierra Madre. Siya lang naman po ang humarang sa unos, pumigil sa hagupit ng hangin at nagligtas ng milyong-milyong buhay sa Luzon. Tahimik po niya ang ginampanan, Mr. President, muli ang tungkulin bilang ating tagapagligtas. Para pong isang ina na ikinubli ang kanyang mga anak sa dapat sanay nakamamatay na hagupit ni Uwan. Yet, Mr. President, despite its immense importance, the Sierra Madre remains under siege. Mining operations continue to carve scars upon slopes. Illegal logging and massive quarrying erode its soil. Infrastructure and resort developments threaten to fragment its forests. Gayong may mga batas naman gaya ng Republic Act No. 9125 o ang Northern Sierra Madre Natural Park Act of 2001 na naglalayong pangalagaan ito, nananatiling kulang at mahina ang pagpapatupad ng mga probisyong dapat sana'y nagpoprotekta sa natitirang likas na yaman ng ating bansa. Kaya naman, Ginoong Pangulo, nanawagan ako na agad suriin at pagtibayin ang pagpapatupad ng proteksyon sa Sierra Madre. Nararapat ang mas maigting na pagbabawal sa anumang mapaminsalang pagmimina, pagtutroso dito at pagtatayo ng lahat ng uri ng resort, bakasyunan man o permanenteng tirahan, kasabay na rin ang pagbibigay ng kabuhayang pangkalikasan sa mga katutubo at lokal na komunidad na tunay na tagapangalaga ng kalikasan. Mga kasama, kung ang Sierra Madre handang isakripisyo ang sarili upang tayo ay mailigtas, hindi ba't napapanahon na tayo naman ang magligtas sa kanya? Mr. President, colleagues, how many more super typhoons must batter Luzon before we act? How many more floodings and landslides must claim lives before we finally give the Sierra Madre the protection she deserves? The Sierra Madre has saved Luzon countless times. from Typhoon Yolanda, Rolly, Paeng, and now Uwan. But who will save the Sierra Madre, Mr. President? It cannot speak for itself. It cannot march to this hall. It cannot plead for mercy against bulldozers and chainsaws. It relies on us, the people's representatives, to give it voice and legal protection. Ginoong Pangulo, mga kasama, ang Sierra Madre po ay buhay. Siya ang ating sandigan. Ngayon na ang panahon para ipakita na kaya rin nating ipagtanggol ang nagtatanggol sa atin. Kaya po, sasabihin ko, maraming salamat, Sierra Madre. Government assistance accessible not only in law, but in practice. I humbly seek your support for the passage of Senate Bill number 155 under Committee Report number 8, an act simplifying the documentary requirements for accessing government financial assistance and for other purposes. This measure seeks to remove one of the most persistent barriers faced by millions of Filipinos, the burden of unnecessary and excessive documentary requirements. Alam po natin na sa bawat programang pang-ayuda ng pamahalaan mula sa medical assistance, burial assistance at iba pang financial assistance, ang isa sa mga pangunahing reklamo ng ating mga kababayan ay ang sandamakmak na hinihinging requirements bago mabigyan ng ayuda. Birth certificate, barangay clearance, certificate of indigency, certificate of residency. Minsan kailangan pa ng photocopy, notary public certification from multiple offices. Hingi lang po ng konting ayuda, kailangan pa po ng diploma, kailangan pa po ng mga kung ano-ano pa, marriage contract. Sa proseso pa lang na yan, ubos na po ang oras, pamasahe at lakas ng mga Pilipinong higit nangangailangan ng tulong. Mr. President, my dear colleagues, our goal is simple: to bring government assistance closer to Filipino people without drowning them in bureaucracy. The people who need help the most are often the ones who struggle to make complex, burdensome paperwork. Many of them don't have IDs, residence certificates, or proof of income because poverty makes it hard for them to get these documents. It is not enough to have programs in place. We must remove red tape that bars access to them. The process should be compassionate, not bureaucratic. Hihingi lang po ng pampalibing 5,000 ang ibibigay ng pamahalaan, kailangan pa ng katakot-takot na papeles. Kung kailangan niya na pong dalhin ang baul para sa mga papeles na ito ay kailangang dalhin daw. Napakahaba po, Ginoong Pangulo, at ang masaklap pa, papabalik-balikin pa ang pobre na pamasahe lang ay problema na nga. Kailangan ng lumabas ng pasyente sa araw na yon, bababalik pa sa Biyernes o next week. Marami sa kanila ay nakatira sa malalayong barangay, walang access sa internet o printer. At kailangan pang mag-antay ng ilang araw sa mga opisina ng gobyerno. Under this bill, Mr. President, all national and local government agencies and instrumentalities, including but not limited to DSWD, DOH, PhilHealth, and PCSO, will be mandated to standardize documentary requirements to only those strictly necessary to establish eligibility. Beneficiaries in need shall only be required to submit 1. Valid ID, 2. Billing statements, and 3. Referral or endorsement letter issued by the city or municipal social welfare and development office, or duly authorized local social worker or original or certified true copy of medical certificate, medical abstract of death certificate, whichever is applicable, and process request for assistance, maximum of 3 working days upon submission of complete documents. In short, this bill promotes efficiency, transparency, and compassionate governance. Simplification does not mean we remove accountability. It means we trust our citizens and we trust our systems to be efficient, secure, and people-centered. Mr. President, my dear colleagues, this measure is a step toward more responsive and caring bureaucracy, a legislative measure that truly understands the daily realities of ordinary Filipinos. Sa bawat forms at documentary requirements na ating tinanggal ay may isang pamilyang makakatanggap ng tulong ng mas mabilis, Ginoong Pangulo. At sa bawat araw na natitipid sa proseso, may buhay na maaring naliligtas o mapabuti. I humbly urge you, my dear colleagues, to support the immediate passage of this measure. In doing so, let us make public service truly in service of the public. Maraming salamat po, Mr. President.
Nais ko lamang pong batiin ang ating pong una, siyempre po, si Senator Erwin Tulfo doon po sa kanyang talumpati patungkol po sa pinagdadaanan ng ating mga kababayan sa paghingi po ng tulong sa gobyerno. Totoo po ito. Kaya po minsan nanggagaling na po sa bulsa ko. Minsan dahil sa dami po nang inihingi, ako na lang po ang nagbibigay. Kaya ako po yung nagpapasalamat at isip po ito ng ating dating kalihim po ng DSWD. Dahil siya lang po talaga ang magsasabi ng katotohanan dito. Kaya binabati ko po siya.
With the privileged speech of the Honorable Senator Erwin Tulfo, I would like to raise concerns on the protection of our environment, especially our protected areas. 3 years ago, I expressed my opposition over the Kaliwa Dam project because of the irreversible harm it will cause to the ecosystem of Sierra Madre and because of the affected indigenous communities. Several environmentalist groups further raised their concern on the threat to the lives of 100,000 residents once it's built, as it will be constructed within a zone of 2 active tectonic belts, the Philippine Fault Zone and Valley Fault System. At dahil nasita ang DNR, sinuspindi ang proyekto. Kung hindi pa nasita, tuloy-tuloy ang proyekto. Inamin ng DNR na hindi pa compliant ang proyekto sa zoning requirements. At the moment, may go signal na ulit sa Kaliwa Dam Project. Dahil ba nabaling na atensyon ng mga tao? Are the concerns of the indigenous people addressed? While the MWSS claimed that only half of the village will be affected, indigenous groups and villagers said the waters would submerge up to 90% of the village, as only houses situated 70 meters and above will be spared. Ito po ang matagal ko nang sinasabi at paulit-ulit. Ang ating DENR ay parati na lang pumapasok pag may kaguluhan na, pag may nadisgrasya na, pag may milyon nang nasira at marami nang namatay. Reactive at hindi po proactive ang ating DENR. Dapat po ang DENR una sa pagpigil ng pag-aabuso sa ating kalikasan. Pero hindi po ganitong nangyari. Kasi po, may nababayaran sa baba para mabigyan ng ECC. Pag walang nagreklamo, everybody happy. Pag may nagprotesta naman, hindi rin agad pinapansin hanggat hindi nag-viral o ma-pick up ng media o sa social media. Anong klaseng sistema meron po tayo? The problem with our environment, Mr. President, is that damages are often irreversible. Kaya dapat prevention ang priority natin, hindi rehabilitation. Dahil years and even decades ang kailangan to bring back any damage to our environment. And the cost is nowhere near any economic advantage that we can gain from some of the projects. And that is why we have the E-NIPAS Act, excuse me, or the expanded National Integrated Protected Areas System Act. These are areas that we recognize as sacred and need absolute protection. But from our experience as Kaliwa Dam, sa resort, sa Chocolate Hills at sa Mount Apo, at sa wind farm energy projects at sa Masungi, ang mga regulasyon ay optional. Depende kung magkaroon ng kadahilanan. Sa magkanong kadahilanan? In some ways. Ang mga environment compliance certificates ay nabibili gaya ng mga birth certificates at diplomas dyan sa recto. I have discussed this matter with my fellow senators who are environment advocates, and they agreed with me that we must review the INIPAS Act. There's a need to instill better regulatory system. Community participation in the regulation must be strengthened. But just like infra project, it is the communities that point out irregularities. It is the community that has genuine concern for the environment. Furthermore, we should include in the prohibited and penalized acts the participation of government officials in the prohibited acts, because the violation of our environmental laws are never committed without the consent or cooperation of a public official. Given po yan palagi. Sa katotohanan, naipakita ko na po kung paano paglaruan ang mga miyembro ng DNR, PAMBI, NCIP at iba pang ahensya para makakuha ng kakayanang babuyin ang ating protected areas. While the right price and the right friends, anything is possible. Meaning, walang imposible if the price is right. Oras na para bisitahin natin muli ang INIPAS at iba pang batas para wakasan ang ganitong klaseng bulok na sistema. With this, I commend and give my full support to the privileged speech of the good Senator Erwin Tulfo. Thank you, Mr. President.
I'd like to support the privileged speech of Senator Tulfo. I'm also and I have seen how these developers, Mr. President, I have encroached into the Upper Marikina River Basin Protected Watershed. Ito po dapat ang parte ng Sierra Madre na nagpo-protection sa atin po sa Metro Manila. And dati po kami nagmo-motocross dyan. We're going, especially during the COVID time. Kahit saan po nakakapunta kami sa Sierra Madre. But lately, in the last few days, hindi na po kami pinapayagan. May mga guardian tumipigil at may mga development na po. Rest houses, subdivisions, and that is very alarming, Mr. President, because Sierra Madre, indeed, is our protector. And I have raised this issue several times during the budget hearings of DNR. And I hope that we will, given these two big storms, that we have seen how Sierra Madre protected Metro Manila and other provinces, I just hope that we will continue to pay attention and be focused on this, Mr. President. I'm a witness on what Senator Raffy Tulfo and Senator Erwin Tulfo have brought up, that there are indeed developments that are ongoing in what is supposedly a protected watershed. That is the Sierra Madre.
Unang-una siguro, just as a manifestation and a thanksgiving sa ating Panginoon na yung nakita nating laki ng bagyo. Marami pa rin na pinsala, grabe pa rin ang tama sa ilan mga lugar. But all of us who saw the pictures and comparing it with Yolanda, comparing it with the past storms, and then of course, yung bagyo din na pinagdadaanan natin sa corruption, I just wanted to express thanksgiving sa Panginoon at sa lahat ng Pilipino na nagkaisa tayo during this time. Having said that, it does tell me one thing. If you see our discussions today, EDCOM, at lahat ng problema na lumabas sa EDCOM, and I'd like to thank Senator Win and Senator now Secretary Angara, lahat ng nasa EDCOM. Kayo po ni former Senator Edgardo Angara sa EDCOM 1. Pinag-usapan din natin yung classroom kanina, ngayon naman Sierra Madre. The simple manifestation that I want to do, Mr. President, is that when we start the budget on Thursday, we should start looking at this as an opportunity to do something very decisive and to do it differently. So usually every year we try to do it better. Each Congress, 17, 18, 19, 5, 6, 7, we try to improve, innovate. But itong disruption, itong gulo, itong nagdidebate po tayo, no? Senator Marcoleta, Senator Lacson have different points of view on many things, but I think in the end we all want one thing, di ba? You know, pag nagdadasal po tayo, sabi, your kingdom come here on earth as it is in heaven. At yung kingdom ng Panginoon ay maayos. So the manifestation that I want to make is that I look forward to working with all of you sa budget. But sana ma-convince din natin yung executive department at saka yung House of Representatives, lahat ng ating kababayan, na we have to do things differently. If we have to ban all these kinds of development from Sierra Madre, let's just do it. Diba? If we have to decide, will we take out, suspend muna 2 years from K-12 habang binibuild yung classroom, or do we move 100 billion to classrooms? Hindi lang classroom yung problema, new schools, yung lupa, EDCOM, problem after problem, nire-report every month, but mabagal tayo magsolusyon. We took out 200 billion from DPWH, almost 300 billion. Ngayon, 50% daw, overpriced. So all of this doesn't have to lead to frustration. All of this can lead to opportunity na, sige, so I put it this way, kanina may nakasalubong akong congressman. Sabi ko, pare, anong pinakagusto mong kumpanya sa Pilipinas? Is it San Miguel? Is it Ayala Corp? Is it PLDT? If I tell you gather 100 people today at bilhin natin, siguro kahit 1,000 taong kunin mo, hindi natin mabibili, di ba? Pero halimbawa, nagkaskandalo yung kumpanya na yan. Bumaksak yung stock nila. At kayo, marami kayo, may cash kayo. Baka mabili nyo. Pag binili nyo, hindi nyo lang itutuloy. Nagkaskandalo nga, nagkaproblema. Pero magandang kumpanya. Anong gagawin nyo? May babaguhin kayo na napakaganda para muling bumangon at lumaki yung kumpanya na yon. So I just like to speak a little bit of encouragement. I know we'll be having deep debates in the next few days, Mr. President, and I look forward to doing it in a very professional manner. But I'd like to encourage all of us that there's an opportunity to do something very different. You know, to really solve, to disrupt, but to be able to quantum leap. So, kumbaga game changer ang kailangan approach natin sa mga panahon na to. Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Majority Leader.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ginoong Tagapangulo, mga ginagalang kong kasamahan sa Senado, ako po ay tumitindig sa pulpitong ito ngayong hapon sa bisa ng personal at kolektibong pribilehyo. Sa mga nagdaang linggo at buwan, sunod-sunod pong sinubok ang ating bayan. Hindi pa man nakakabangon ang ilang lugar sa pagyanig ng lupa, nasundan na agad ng pagbagyo at pagbaha. Sa aking pagpunta kamay-kailan sa Cebu, nakita ko ang dalawang mukha ng sakuna, ang bigwas ng lindol at hagupit ng bagyo. Magkasunod nilang winasak ang bayan. Mga pader na bumigay, mga bahay at mga establishmentong pinaghirapang itaguyod ng ilang taon ay gumuho. Mga sasakyan na nagkapatong-patong at mga komunidad na hanggang ngayon ay nababalot pa rin ng takot at pangamba. Sa mga ganitong panahon, lagi na lang nating naririnig na pinupuri ang pagiging resilient o matatag ng mga Pilipino. Halos nakatahina ang katangingang ito sa ating pagkatao. Pilipinong matatag, matibay ang loob, matiisin sa gitna ng sakuna. Palibasa ba ang mga Pilipino ay matatag? Dapat bang palagi na lamang siyang makaranas ng paghihirap at pagdurusa? O likas bang delikado talaga ang Pilipinas pagdating sa mga sakuna? O naging ganito na lang kadelikado dahil sa kapabayaan at pagsasamantala? Mahigit po 4 na milyong Pilipino sa 8 rehiyon ang sinalanta ng Bagyong Tino. Mga ari-arian, mahigit 155,000 bahay ang naitalang nawasak, 155,000. At ang naitalang pinagsamang halaga ng pinsala sa agrikultura at infrastructure ay tinatayang nasa 337.6 million at baka tumaas pa. Ang isang hindi katanggap-tanggap at pumupukaw sa dibdib ng bawat Pilipino ay ang mahigit 200 ang naitalang nasawi. Kinain ng putik na lagpas tao. At mahigit 100 ang nawawala. At mahigit 500 ang sugatan. Habang bumabangon pa lamang ang iba nating mga kababayan at mga institusyon sa nagdaang bagyo, dumating naman ang bagyong Uwan na nanalanta sa mahigit 2 milyong Pilipino sa 15 rehiyon. Sa kasalukuyan, mahigit 800,000 ang nasa evacuation centers. 6 ang naitalang nasawi at tinatayang mahigit 4,000 bahay ang napinsala. Naulat din ang pagbaha sa mahigit 200 lugar, habang halos 300 bahagi ng kalsada at higit sa 50 tulay ang hindi madaanan sa kasagsagan ng bagyo. Nakaranas din ng pagkawala ng kuryente at supply ng tubig sa mahigit na 400 lungsod at munisipalidad. Kasama na po ang aking probinsyang Camarines Norte. Sa mga karanasan nating ito, nabunyag na naman ang katiwalian sa mga proyekto. Mga maninipis at tinipid na poste ng gusali, mga seawall na madaling masira at bumigay, ang katagang flood control ghost projects pala ay hindi lamang ghost sa kadahilan ng hindi sila nakikita at nararamdaman, kundi dahil mumultuhin tayo ng mga ito sa tuwing magkakaroon ng kalamidad. Mumultuhin tayo ng kapabayaan at katiwalian na pinabayaan nating manuot sa sistema. At kung may dapat tayong mapagtanto sa lahat ng ito, iisa lang ang katotohanan. Hindi kalikasan ang may problema. Sistemang bulok at palpak. Kung matatagman ng ating mga mamamayan, hindi po yun nangangahulugan na kailangan nating hayaang dumanas sila ng hirap sa bawat sakuna. Ang resilience na ginagayak ng bawat Pilipino bilang isang tatak ng karangalan ay naging tabing na din na nagkukubli sa kawalan ng pananagutan. Bilang mga mambabatas, tungkulin nating itaguyod sila. Ibsa ng bigat na kanilang dinadala. Mas lalo pang palakasin ng kanilang loob at patatagin ng kanilang diwa. Our people deserve more from us. Hindi salita. Hindi grandstanding, kundi sa gawa. Tunay na malasakit at tapat na paglilingkod. Kaya po noong Setyembre pa lamang, isinusulong ko na ang Senate Bill number 1299 o Mahiya Naman Kayo Act na naglalayong ganap na alisin ang ekwasyon, ang panghihimasok ng mga mambabatas sa pagtukoy, pagpopondo, at pagpapatupad ng mga proyekto. Layon din ng panukalang ito na patatagin ang koordinasyon ng national government sa mga local government units, sa mga infrastructure projects na itatayo sa kanilang mga lugar. Kung ang isang proyektong pang-infrastructure ay itatayo sa isang probinsya, munisipyo, syudad o barangay, dapat ito ay alam ng mga local government officials doon. Hindi na pwedeng surprise na lang ang mga proyekto na ikagugulat ni Governor, ni Mayor o ni Kapitan. Naalala ko pa noong 2024, matapos ang pananalasa ng Bagyong Christine, personal ko pong tinutukan ang pagbaha sa Camarines Sur dahil ako po'y Bicolano. Nakita ko kung paanong ang ilang proyekto ng flood control, imbis na makatulong, ay naging sagabal pa sa natural na daloy ng mga ilog Isa itong malinaw na halimbawa kung paanong ang hindi konsultadong proyekto ay nagiging sanhi na mas matinding sakuna. Maaalala din na sa kasagsagan ng mga bagyo noong Hulyo nitong taon, nanawagan po si Manila Mayor Isko Moreno na ibigay sa mga LGU ang pamamahala sa mga pasilidad kontra baha. Dapat sa kanila magsimula ang proyekto. Dapat sa kanila manggaling ang plano. Dapat sila ang nagpapasya kung paano magpoprotektahan ang kanilang mga mamamayan. Ang trabaho ng legislatura ay magbigay ng otorisasyon sa pamamagitan ng batas. Hindi ng padrino. Magbigay ng gabay. Magbigay ng solusyon, hindi ng problema. Kung pumalpak ang proyekto, kung may pagkukulang, dapat malinaw kung sino ang mananagot, hindi na kung ano-ano pang investigasyon. Ngunit, kahit ayusin natin ang sistema, paano po tayo makakaiwas sa sakuna kung hindi natin alam ang panganib? Kaya, isinusulog ko rin po ang Senate Bill number 1481, ang National Hazard Mapping Act. Kailangan natin ng malinaw, kumpleto at updated na pambansang mapa ng panganib. Isang mapang magsasabi kung saang delikado tumira, kung saan hindi dapat magtayo, at kung saan dapat ililikas ang mga pamilya bago dumating ang bagyo, lindol o pagguho. Ang mapang ito ay buuin sa pamamagitan po ng koordinasyon ng DNR, NAMRIA, DOST, Climate Change Commission, NDRRMC at DILG. At i-update tuwing 5 taon. Ang mapang ito ang magiging gabay ng LGU sa zoning, urban planning, relocation at emergency response. Hindi pwedeng hula-hula ang buhay ng Pilipino. Hindi pwedeng tsambahan ang kaligtasan ng komunidad. Ang respeto sa siyensya ay respeto sa buhay. Sa diwa ng katarungang panlipunan at malasakit, ang inyong lingkod ay maghahain din po ng isang resolusyon na nanawagan sa lahat ng government financial institution at iba pang ahensya na magpatupad ng pansamantalang moratorium sa pagbabayad ng utang sa mga lugar na idiniklarang nasa ilalim ng state of calamity. At humihikayat sa mga pribadong bangko at institusyon na makiisa sa diwang ito. Sa ganitong sitwasyon na labis na silang sinubok ng panahon, huwag na natin pong dagdagan pa ang kanilang pagkalugmok. Ako rin ay nananawagan sa ating pamahalaan at sa mga kapwa lingkod bayan na pawiin muna ang mga labis na formalidad, masalimuot na proseso at mahigpit na requirement sa pagbibigay ng serbisyo sa ating mga kababayang labis na naapektuhan ng kalamidad. Sa panahon ng pangangailangan, ang agarang tulong ay hindi dapat hadlangan ng masyadong maburokrasyang pagkilos dahil ang bawat segundo ay mahalaga sa buhay at pagbangon ng ating mga mamamayan. Huwag nating gawing normal ang pagtitiis, ang pag-akyat sa bubong, ang paglusong sa tubig baha at putik na may panganib na makuryente. Sa makatwid, hindi palibasay sila'y matatag. Maaari na nating hayaang maging normal na bahagi ng buhay ng Pilipino ang pagdurusa. Ang resilience ay dapat sandata, hindi kapalit ng responsableng pamamahala. Ang katatagan ay dapat pinupunan ng tulong, hindi inaabuso ng kapabayaan. Ang pagtitiis ay hindi parusa. Kaya muli, ako po'y nananawagan. Mahiya naman tayo kung inuuna natin ang politika kaysa buhay. Mahiya tayo kung kaya nating manahimik habang may nagdurusa. Ngunit kung kikilos tayo ngayon, kung iwawasto natin ang sistema, kung uunahin natin ang pagmamalasakit kaysa pamumulitika, maibabalik natin ang dangal sa serbisyo publiko. May pag-asa pa ang Pilipinas. Ngayon ang panahon para makita ang peligro bago dumating ang trahedya. Ngayon ang panahon para hindi lang tayo maging matatag, kung hindi maging ligtas. Ngayon ang panahon para protektahan ng buhay ng Pilipino, hindi ang kapangyarihan. Mga kasama, mga kapwa ko lingkod bayan. Sa akin pong pag-ikot, kitang-kita ko po ang hindi ko po maipaliwanag sapagkat hindi na po kailangan ng matinding research o mga scientists kung anong naging problema dito sa ating bayan, ba't maraming namamatay. Saan po kayo nakakita na mga riverbed may nakatirang tao? Mga daanan ng tubig, ginawang tirahan ng tao at ginawa pang barangay. Siguro naman po mga kasama, kitang-kita na natin kung saan ang problema. Ang kailangan po natin ngayon ay political will. Kailangan po natin talagang ipabatid sa ating mga kababayan na hindi po tinitiran ang riverbed at hindi po tinitiran ang mga ilalim ng tulay. Hindi po tinitirahan at hindi po pwedeng gawing barangay ang daanan ng tubig na inukit ng kalikasan. Yaang pong mga lugar na yan, sa matagal na panahon, 1,000 taon, yaan po ay daanan ng tubig. Kaya mga kasama, pagbutihin pa natin, dahil ka nga ng aking yumaong ama, ang tunay na karangalan ng tungkulin ay nasusukat hindi sa karangyaan ng posisyon, kundi sa malasakit, serbisyo, at pagsasakripisyo ng sarili para sa pinaglilingkuran. Maraming salamat po.
Outset, I would like to commend our colleague Senator Erwin Tulfo for his privileged speech and Senator Robin Padilla as well, both their privileged speeches on the environment and how we must nurture nature. So count this, Mr. President, as strike 3 on the environment. Typhoons Tino and Uwan had claimed hundreds of lives. Typhoon Tino, 232 lives and affected over 4 million Filipinos. Typhoon Uwan, still unfolding, has already left more than 6 dead and displaced 2.4 million. Cebu and Negros were the worst, with 150 fatalities for Cebu, followed by Negros Occidental with 42, Negros Oriental with 21. These tragedies hit close to home, barely 2 months after a 6.9 magnitude quake in the same region that claimed 79 lives. This is nature speaking to us clearly. Our growth has outpaced our safeguards. Beyond the natural calamities, unchecked mining and reclamation, deforestation and illegal logging, unregulated construction, uncontrolled urban sprawl into no-build zones, poor solid waste management, corruption in infrastructure, and government clearances have eroded the very foundations of safety and sustainability, including the fact that we do not follow the no-build zones, that we do not follow the NAMRIA maps where it clearly dictates where to build and not to build. For decades, we've answered floods with concrete, higher walls, longer dikes, deeper drains. Yet every storm proves that concrete alone cannot protect us, especially when it's weakened by corruption, flawed clearances, or lost as ghost projects. The Department of Environment and Natural Resources Water Resources Management Office recently evaluated over 4,000 flood control projects nationwide. The findings are alarming. 42% were problematic, unconstructed, duplicated, or already existing. Nearly 30% were poorly situated, dikes that block natural river flow, protect idle lands, or redirect water into communities. Some projects the DNR confirms were reclamation in disguise, converting riverbanks and wetlands into land development zones. Even more alarming, the DPWH admitted that many flood control projects lacked environmental clearance certificates, despite being environmentally critical and high risk. Worse, the agency itself acknowledged that some of these structures have actually worsened flooding and, in fact, should be dismantled altogether. We spent billions for safety. Instead, we engineered vulnerability. To this, science tells us what experience has long confirmed. Flooding cannot be solved by fighting nature. It can only be managed by working with it. The UP Resilience Institute urges a shift from rigid mega projects to flexible, nature-based, science-driven systems. At its core, flood protection should begin not with cement, but with soil, trees, and ecosystems, a layered defense shaped by nature's design. Upstream, we must restore our watersheds. Our forests are the first line of defense. When watersheds fail, everything downstream suffers. Reforest degraded mountain slopes with native tree species. Establish bamboo and vetiver groves along riverbanks to anchor soil and slow runoff. Encourage small catchment ponds and contour farming to retain rainwater and reduce erosion. Protect existing forests from illegal logging, mining, and encroachment. Along our rivers, we must restore their room to breathe, reconnect floodplains, and rehabilitate riparian buffers. Restore wetlands that once acted as natural sponges, absorbing excess water during storms. Replace hard concrete embankments with eco-engineered alternatives. Gabions and coconuts reinforced with deep-rooted vegetation that stabilize slopes naturally while supporting biodiversity. Stop converting riverbanks into commercial or residential zones. In our cities, we must allow water to find safe paths instead of forcing it underground. Build sponge infrastructure, permeable pavements, bioswales, rain gardens, and retention parks that absorb runoff instead of channeling it. Promote green roofs, urban tree planting, and household rainwater harvesting systems. Enforce strictly the Ecological Solid Waste Management Act because every clogged canal begins with a single piece of plastic carelessly discarded. Respect and observe the National Building Code's no-build zones and follow the NAMRIA maps, which is said to have been distributed to all local government units. Stop granting exemptions for politically connected persons. And along our coasts, we must bring back the mangroves and seagrass beds that shield us better than any seawall ever could. To make this happen, governance must evolve as much as our climate has. Agencies must act as one under a unified, integrated flood management and river basin framework with support from local governments, academic institutions, and local communities. The DPWH must align all flood projects with DNR WRMO's satellite validation database before approving or funding any new structure. Equally vital is the use of multi-hazard maps, integrating flood, landslide, earthquake, and storm surge risks to guide all planning and infrastructure decisions. These maps are not for mere academic exercise. Without them, we build where water should flow and settle where danger waits. They must be regularly updated with satellite data used by all agencies and LGUs and made public to ensure accountability and preparedness. All future projects must be science-based, risk-informed, and climate-aligned, not politically convenient or politically determined. It must follow the stream of water based on master plans, river basins, not determined by politically determined districts. We must also enforce what already exists: the Clean Water Act, the Ecological Solid Waste Management Act, the National Building Code's no-build zones, and the NAMRIA maps. When told to evacuate, let's not wait. Never risk lives or our rescuers' lives. Penalties must be maximized for those who steal amid calamity, before or after. Floods are not acts of God when negligence is written into the blueprints. But governance is not only about agencies that comprise government. It is instead our people. We must remind our citizens that resilience begins at home. Do not throw waste into canals, rivers, or streets, or waterways. Hindi po basura ang ating kapaligiran. Do not obstruct waterways or build structures in riverbeds, drainages, or canals. Hindi po dapat linalagyan ng anumang struktura ang daluyan ng tubig. Support barangay-level waste segregation programs. The barangay is the front line of environmental protection. Gradually reduce reliance on single-use plastics. In fact, I refiled the measure to ban single-use plastics, and some local government units have already passed local ordinances. Participate in community-based tree planting, note native trees, river cleanups, and disaster preparedness drills. Needless to state, every dike that collapses is not only a failure of construction, it is a failure of imagination. At the end of the day, flood control should not be measured by how many walls we build, but by how many lives and ecosystems we protect. The legacy of Tino and Uwan should not be another round of bidding for quick repairs, but a nationwide realization that resilience cannot be engineered slowly by concrete. It must be grown, restored, and sustained. We cannot keep reacting to typhoons or floods. We must live with them wisely, with foresight, science, and the guidance of nature. Harmony begins where greed ends and where governance works with nature. At the end of the day, Mr. President, the best flood control is nurturing nature, protecting our watersheds, protecting our forests and not logging them, and protecting the mangroves that are the best buffer and defense against storm surge.